the black, with Marcus Benjamin. Live in the black, live in the black, live in the black, live in the black, live in the black.
It's Marcus Benjamin, and welcome to another episode of Living in the Black. I know you've enjoyed the month of May when we were able to talk about mastering your money, and we shared some provocative, challenging, and eye-opening insights. But listen, this entire month, we're talking about leadership and we're talking about life from a faith perspective. I believe you're really going to be inspired and challenged. I actually brought in a guest with me who's going to be sharing his story, his insights, his perspectives, and we're going to just have some conversation. So listen, what I need for you to do is go ahead, hit like, hit share, tag your family and your friends, and I need for you to let them know that Living in the Black is on right now.
Life has deficits, designed to take an exit and live in the black, live in the black. Life has deficits, designed to take an exit and live in the black, live in the black, with Marcus Benjamin. Live in the black, with Marcus Benjamin. Live in the black, with Marcus Benjamin. Live in the black, 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 live in the.
Well, it's Marcus Benjamin here, and look who I have in the studio with me today. I have Camy Smith in the studio with me.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man. This is my brother, ladies and gentlemen. God has really blessed me with a group of guys that we really connect at a very high level, from a business standpoint, from
Yes,
a
sir.
faith standpoint, from a ministry standpoint. And ladies and gentlemen, Camy Smith is one of those guys. He's one of those guys that you want to just sit down and just chill, watch basketball, talk God, talk family.
Not play it,
Not
or watch it. I wouldn't dare do that.
Don't let him fool you. This is an athlete right here. This is an athlete right here. But Camy and I met about 3 years ago in a John Maxwell type of event.
Yeah.
And from that event, a friendship has evolved.
Yep.
A relationship has evolved. And I have the opportunity of presenting him to our viewing audience. So Camy, listen, man, we're going to be talking about life and leadership. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
You sure?
I'm excited to be here, man. Absolutely.
Listen, man, we're glad that you're here. Just before we get started in the full meat and potatoes, just take a few moments and just tell us who Camy Smith is in terms of where you came from, what you do professionally, and even more, maybe specifically how God got involved in your life.
Sure. Been walking with the Lord now for, let's see, since 16, and I'm 9 years old. And from Miami, Florida, attended a small school in Atlanta called Morehouse College. May or may not have heard of it. On a football scholarship. And
Pause. You heard me. A football scholarship. Just want to make sure that I
From
bring back
Morehouse.
to the fact that this is an athlete that we're talking about. But anyway, move forward.
So yeah, played 1 year semi-pro football after college, and always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And when I got out of college, which is a nice way to say I dropped out, I didn't finish, and decided I wanted to kind of own my own business. And I got my start, and for the last 18 years have owned an insurance agency. So that's how I got my start in the world of business, and entrepreneurship, insurance.
So you started in the world of business, but there's a story that I have always benefited from personally.
Sure.
I try to tell the story, but I can't tell the story as good as you can tell the story. And ladies and gentlemen, in this first segment, I'm going to have Camy share this story because he's the founder of an organization called BeUnlocked, and we'll get into that later. Okay. But there's a story that you tell about you and your father on the campus of Morehouse when you were first going there to play football regarding a gate. Can you tell our audience that story? And I think that'll be a springboard into our conversation in this first segment.
Well, he's being modest because I think you tell that story better than I do. And my father is a pastor and has been a pastor now for 20 years. So I'm a PK. So shout out to all the PKs out there watching. So he may be watching this and he may be able to tell the story better as well. But so it was the summer of '98, and I had just gotten to Atlanta, and I was excited to get to the field to see where I was going to be playing. And so one Saturday morning, my father and we went down to the campus. And if you've been to the Morehouse campus, it's not that big. But the stadium, and there's a parking lot right outside the stadium, and we parked the car and we got out. I've got football in hand and my cleats and all, and I'm pumped to finally get to the field. And for a football player, and for a basketball player rather, it's no different than getting to that court.
Correct.
The very first time.
Listen,
you want to feel that ball go through the net.
That's
that you'll
right,
be playing,
man.
right?
You want to walk in there, man. Nobody's there, and just absorb the moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. You don't want to sit on the bench because you don't want to get too comfortable there, right? But
that's right.
So we get down to the field, and it must have been, moments after sunrise. The dew is still on the grass. It's got that fresh cut smell, and I could feel my future. I could feel it. I was getting it ready. I was preparing for it. And so we get out of the car, and to get from the parking lot to the field, you've got to go through this one walkway. It's the same walkway that we used, of course, when we were coming out of the tunnel, and it was game time. And so, of course, we didn't call anyone to tell them that we were coming. So
impromptu
showing
up.
Right. Also known as trespassing. So we get there, and we obviously see that that's the entrance to get to the field. And so, not thinking twice about it, we just walk in, and we see that it's locked, and there doesn't seem to be anybody around that can open the gate. So I think I got to the fence first. My dad might have been turning off the car or doing whatever he was doing. And so he walks up, kind of behind me. He's like, "What's going on?" And, it's almost like I was deflated. All that enthusiasm and excitement in that moment. He's like, "What's wrong?" The gate's locked. Oh, man. So, okay, don't fret. No big deal. Well, let's see if we can't find another way in. So
at that point, your dad is now engaging in some type of leadership. In the sense of saying, hey, even though the gate is locked, instead of going back to the car.
Right. Oh, no, we didn't just leave.
No, we've got to see if we can find another way in.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's give it another shot.
Understood.
So, so anyway, I said trespassing. I don't know what you'd call the next 45 minutes, but breaking and entering.
Breaking and entering.
So we try to get it. So we're trying to get in, and I want to say that if I recall vividly, he went this way and I went that way. It's like, you go that way, I'll go this way, and we'll find an entrance, and then whoever gets it, shout it out, and we'll get there. So he goes around this side, and I go back through the tunnel, and at this point now I'm in the coaching office area. I'm trying to find a way, and about 45 minutes goes by, and we make our way back to the original gate, to our starting point. And I said, "Any luck?" "Nope." Looks at me, "Any luck?" "Nope." And so now it's going on maybe 7:30, right? I said when we started it was just after sunrise, so we're an hour now, and as a matter of fact, a lot more activity was going on around the campus and around the stadium. So people are waking up, and cars are driving by. We're like, "So what do you want to do?" And I'm just kind of deflated again. And here was the moment that kind of changed everything. So I go up to the gate, and now I'm like a 5-year-old looking at a new toy.
Yeah.
And I literally I put my hand. It was a chain link fence. So I put my hand on the fence, and I'm just like, oh man.
Deflated.
And I just kind of leaned my head down, and the fence started moving. So what happened was there was a chain around it, but it wasn't actually locked. It was just hanging there.
So it was the appearance.
It was the appearance that it was locked, but in reality, all I did was lean on it in disappointment, and it sprung open, and I've got chill bumps as I'm talking about it now. And my dad, I think he was just kind of looking at me, and he was like, "What just happened?" And we looked at each other like, wow. And again, my dad's a pastor, so that's a future sermon, right? I think he preached that message.
We're preaching that tomorrow. That's going to be the message tomorrow.
So we leaned in, and for about 5 minutes, we were just like, "Okay, Lord, okay, let's not forget this moment." And of course, the rest is history. We got out to the field and
enjoyed that moment.
And enjoyed it. an hour later.
So, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we know there's so many lessons and so many insights that we can get from that story, but I wanted us to kind of get that brief part out in this first segment because we're talking about leadership in life. And that story just represented a leadership moment.
Absolutely.
And it just represented a life moment.
Sure.
That was 1998. That was, 21 years ago? And that story is still profound in your heart and the lessons from that.
Sure.
And so when we come back from the break, I want us to take a step further into that story as it relates to how you begin to build BeUnlocked from a leadership standpoint.
Absolutely.
And how our viewers can benefit from that. So ladies and gentlemen, stay with me. I'll be right back in just a moment.
Have you heard of being in the red? It is used in finance to mean being overextended, overdrawn, or having a deficit. But now, being in the red covers much more than money. People are in the red in their relationships, physical and emotional health, knowledge, and even in their faith. Have you experienced any of these deficits? Are you currently in or at the brink of being in the red? More than ever before, Christians are looking for answers to eliminate the deficits in their life. The Living in the Black Tour features award-winning speaker, leadership expert, and author Marcus Benjamin. Congregations across the country are raving, inspiring, spiritual and strategic, truly transforming experience, a powerful message with strategies to eliminate deficits and experience authentic surplus, inspiration to reach for God's best in the 5 grace spaces, and a live Q&A. Living in the Black Tour, coming to a city and church near you. Living in the Black Tour, erasing deficits, encountering Jesus, enhancing lives. It's time to get out of the red and into the black.
And we're back here, ladies and gentlemen, on Living in the Black with my special guest, Camy Smith, founder of BeUnlocked, dear friend, but businessman and man of faith. And he just finished telling us a story about how an experience as a teenager sort of set a precedent for how God will kind of direct your life going forward. And I'm reminded of the scripture in Revelation chapter 3, verse 8, where the writer said, God said, I'm going to set before you an open door
That no man can shut.
That's
right.
And when we talk about leadership, right, we talk about doors and opportunities. A lot of times there are doors that people have that are available to them that they don't push, that they're sort of waiting for somebody to escort them into an opportunity, or maybe someone will facilitate them into an opportunity. Just came before, talk to us for a moment as a business owner as it relates to how you've had to sort of open doors for yourself or create opportunities for yourself because you couldn't just sit around and wait for somebody to kind of escort you in. Just kind of talk to us about that concept.
Wow, great question. You know, it's so funny. I just read a quote that said, I say it was a quote, I'll probably butcher it. It said, if you don't come from a successful family, then one has to come from you.
Wow.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
In other words, if you didn't come from it, then you got to start it. You're the beginning point of it.
Start it. Yeah.
So I don't know if that speaks to what you're asking.
It really does.
But, you know, really, at the end of the day, even from those football days in college, prior in high school, and even when I started at the age of 5 years old, it's always been something that you have to work toward. Even if you take you got 3 quarterbacks that are vying for a starting position. They're not going to give it to any one of those 3. It's going to be the one that earns it.
Correct.
And so you take that same attitude into business, and you've got the industry that you're in, whatever that industry is, it's competitive. You know, you're competing for attention, you're competing for time with the right mentors or leaders. Correct. You're trying to get around, the folks that have done it successfully so that you can gain what you're looking for. And so it's important that you have leadership, but it's also important that while you're becoming that leader, that you're seeking it out, right? I think it's Napoleon Hill that says that more gold has been mined from the mines of men than has ever been mined from the earth, right? But it takes you having that shovel to mine it out. And so I think there's just that assertive nature that you have to have in order to, I mean, you know that in basketball, you know, even so anyway.
But you know, if I can interject for a second, and I want you to continue, it's almost like from a scriptural standpoint, we embrace the lamb demeanor and posture, but we don't embrace the lion demeanor and posture. That Jesus isn't one or the other, he's both of them.
Yeah.
And to be successful in business and leadership, it's both and, it's not either or.
That's right.
And that sounds to me like what you're talking about.
I think you're taking that word assertive and you're being the antithesis of it, in passive, right? Passivity.
Correct.
And you're absolutely right. I think the other scripture that comes to mind is be, wise as a serpent, but harmless as a dove.
Correct.
So there's a lot of wisdom in what in terms of growing a business, leading a ministry, leading an organization. But there's also a lot of leadership in terms of that lion attitude that you have to have, whether it's visionary, whether it's communication, protection of what you're building, et cetera. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. I think that our viewers,
strong man.
I think that our viewers are really grasping a real sense of clarity, because so often in the church, we've sort of painted one picture as opposed to the other picture.
Sure.
As opposed to painting both pictures as equally viable, equally necessary, but at different points and different stages. I'm reminded of where Jesus talked about he commended the unjust steward, and then he went on to say that the children of this world are in their generation wiser
than the children of the kingdom.
And Jesus, in a sense, he was reprimanding and correcting the church because we typically take the wrong posture in the wrong situations. But if we're going to be successful in life, if we're going to be successful in business, if we're going to be successful in our careers, we have to understand that there isn't a scenario where someone is going to hand you over everything that you could ever dream, hope, or imagine. Or there isn't a situation where someone is going to say, well, we know God promised it to you, and I'm in this space, but I'm going to move out of the way and give it to you.
Sure.
Unfortunately, that's not how the world works.
Sure.
Now, if we were in a perfect kingdom, then it would work that way.
Right.
But we're not in that kingdom.
We love the meek will inherit the earth.
We love that. To a fault.
To a fault. We're sitting here now, okay? I love this conversation, by the way.
I know it.
And I remember when we talked about getting ready for today, and I'll be quick, I know we don't have a lot of time. I said, what's the attire? You said business casual. And out of those two words came a sermon. Because I remember when I was in my early 20s and I was getting ready to attend a business meeting. And the assistant coordinator sent us the information, the agenda, and at the bottom it said business casual. And I'm 22 years old. Can somebody tell me what business casual means? Right? Not casual, not business, but business casual.
Yeah.
And so, and here's why I say that, because what it means is it's a scaled down version. It's a scaled down, business setting, if you would, right? And what happens, going back to our conversation, is that people tend to scale down their intensity. So you can't be casual about your financial poverty, because we're in a war.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so if you operate like the sky's not falling, then don't get upset when you get hit over the head.
Man.
We're in a financial war, and we're in several other wars, whether it's your family, your children, etc. We don't have to talk about all that, but from a leadership standpoint, leaders understand the war that they're in.
So we're talking about the thief coming to steal, kill, and to destroy.
Right.
But Jesus said, I come that you might have life and have life more abundantly. So the question we have to ask ourselves as we get ready to take a break is, what version of Jesus was saying that? Was that the lamb saying that?
Right.
Or was that the lion saying that?
Yeah, I think.
And ladies and gentlemen, I think the lion was saying that, because a lamb can't defend itself against an attacker.
That's right.
But a lion can defend itself against an attacker. So when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk a little bit more about being aggressive and assertive in the things that pertain to the kingdom of God in your life, in your business, in your ministry. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in just a moment. I'm Marcus Benjamin, the host of Living in the Black, one of the fastest growing television shows in the country. Listen, this is your type of content, your type of message. But I want you to connect with me on all the forms of social media. On Instagram at Marcus D. Benjamin, Twitter at Marcus D. Benjamin. But when you get to Facebook, it's Living in the Black TV. This social media connection will change your life. Let's keep the conversation going as we get out of the red and into the black.
Live in the black, with Marcus Benjamin. Live in the black.
And we're back on Living in the Black. I hope you're enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this conversation with Camy, and I hope you're benefiting as well. But listen, if you are, go ahead and, again, like this video, share it. You can minimize if you're watching on Dominion TV, and you can still have the sound playing, and you can hit that share button and share this content off of all of your platforms, text messages and so forth. Let everybody know how you're watching and why Living in the Black is being an asset to your life. So Camy, you've been talking to us about being assertive and aggressive. We ended that last segment talking about Jesus as the lion, saying the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Stealing our families, killing our families,
killing our
dreams. Well, sounds like something came out about that. Go ahead. Talk,
I know we're wrapping up this show, but I feel like we're just getting started. And as we were on the break, you used the word assertive and aggressive. What the corporate version of those terms, intentionality, and living with intention, building with intention. That was what kind of came to mind. But I heard a quote one time. A guy said, "If you kill a man's dream, do you really want what's left of him?"
Wow.
Because our dream is what we are.
That's the essence of who we are.
It's who we are. And I think that goes back to, again, just defending and protecting that which is so important.
So along those lines, what are some of those things that kill our dreams in your estimation? What are some of those dream killers?
The first thing that came to mind was association.
Wow.
I think that if you show me your friends, I can show you your future. So I've got a 5-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter, and I can tell you, and I'm sure it's the same for you, and I know your kids are much older than that, teenage years. Man. But here's the thing that I know as parents, is that we are extremely careful about who our children hang out with.
Correct.
And it's because we don't want any of that stuff to rub off on our children.
Correct.
But as adults, we don't take that same initiative and live with that same intentionality about the people that we hang out with. And so if you hang around 9 broke people, you're bound to be number 10.
Correct.
Or at least someone else said that once.
Understood.
I'm just regurgitating that.
So, but it's the same concept as it relates to iron sharpening iron.
Proverbs 27:17.
That if I'm around dull people, then I can expect to be sharp.
You lose your edge. That's absolutely
But if
right.
I'm around sharp people, then I expect to get sharper.
Right.
And I think what's interesting is when you're around sharper people, you're initially uncomfortable.
That's right.
And I think that's where
most people be intimidating.
Yeah, I think that's where most people miss out, is because what's intimidating and what's uncomfortable, it causes them to back out. And they say, well, no, this is not for me.
That's right.
No, it is for you.
That's
it's
right.
just uncomfortable to the average part of you.
That's right.
But the great part of us,
and that's where growth happens.
The great part of us is saying, no, this is the environment that I need to be in.
Sure.
But typically that voice is lesser, and the voice of comfort is stronger. So talk briefly about your network in terms of how you have cultivated a network that keeps you sharp. Just talk to briefly.
So I'm sitting next to my network.
And I feel the same.
Okay, so all kidding aside, when we were kids and we were playing basketball on the asphalt for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Was it not our goal to play on the big boy court?
Correct.
We didn't want to play with the little guy court. We wanted to play on the big boy court.
That's right.
Right. So, because it made us better.
That's right.
And so it's no different in areas of faith. I don't want, listen, If you're struggling in your marriage, you want to get around somebody who's got a marriage that's been working.
So basically, we want to get around marriages that are working, not get around marriages that are jacked up, and people who make us feel okay with having a broken marriage.
That's right.
Correct. I understand.
And in business, you see why I'm around this network? In business, it's no different. I want to be in a room with people that are further along than I am, so that I can mine for that gold.
Wow.
It's just that simple.
So
I get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Wow. Talk to this camera. I want you to talk to the people and just challenge them for about 45 seconds right there on being aggressive and intentional about their network and creating relationships. Just do that for us, please.
It's real simple. In whatever area of life you want to see progress in, the single most applicable and important advice that I would give you is to seek out those that are where you want to be and learn how to think how they think, apply the habits that they have, and do it for a period of time until you start to see progress and can develop those habits yourself. It's no different than having a personal trainer show you how to do it. When I go to the gym, if it's just me all by myself, in 30 minutes, I'm exhausted, I'm ready to get out of there. Why? Because I haven't developed the habits to see progress. But with someone that is further along, they can teach me how to do it, show me how to do it, and then eventually I can learn those habits and apply them in my own life and get where I want to be.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, on this episode of Living in the Black, I believe you were inspired, you were challenged, you were stretched. I'm telling you, I'm thinking about the Ethiopian eunuch and Philip, who the eunuch did not stop his chariot initially. Philip had to run alongside the chariot. And I'm telling you, in many cases, if you want your network to grow and increase, you've got to find somebody's chariot to run along beside. Don't expect them to stop to accommodate you. You have to run alongside their chariot to have that conversation with them. So I'm telling you, and I'm challenging you on Living in the Black today, to find your eunuch and find your chariot. This is Marcus Benjamin with Camy Smith. We're going to be back next week to have another conversation on Living in the Black. See you then.
Not many of us started in the wilderness of parenting with a guide to help us avoid the many challenges we would face. Most of us simply parented in response to how we were parented, hoping and praying that our kids would turn out all right. In the midst of all that we are facing today, both parents and grandparents need insight that could radically minimize parenting difficulties and set our kids up for success. In Marcus's book, Unscripted Responsibility, parents will learn the 5 key areas to focus upon while ignoring the thousands of areas beyond their control. Parents will be empowered on the journey of faith in raising kids who succeed in the world. Visit www.marcusdbenjamin.com/shop to order Unscripted Responsibility. Available as an ebook, audiobook, or physical book. Order Unscripted Responsibility today.
Benjamin.